Iti putra kritaghena sonutapto mahamunihi swayam viprakrito rajna naivagham tadajintayat. How beautifully he is putting. Iti putra kritaghena sonutapto mahamunihi swayam viprakrito rajna naivagham tadajintayat. Thinking more concerned about the sin that the son has committed. The father did not think about the insult done by the king to him. So here are 2 points. The son committed a grave sin according to him. He pronounced a punishment which is disproportionate to the crime that was done. He did not take into consideration what was the suffering, the thirst and other difficulties the Pariksit had. He did not think about the greatness of the person, the devotional status of the person. Disregarding all these things, he gave a disproportionate punishment. He was more concerned about that rather than the way Pariksit insulted himself. Prayashas sadhavo loke parair dvandveshu yojitaha na vyathanti na hrisyanti yata atma agunashrayaha. This is what I want you to finally pinpoint and know. What is that? Prayashaha, normally, sadhavo loke. The word sadhu is generally referring to a Mahatma, a knower of truth, a great devotee, who every one of us wants to become. Prayashas sadhavo loke parair dvandveshu yojitaha. While interacting with this world, it is quite possible that the others do not know our status, our greatness, our honorability, etc. So they may sometimes ill-treat us, insult us, disregard us, sometimes afflict us in one way or the other. But we are not supposed to na vyathanti na hrisyanti, either by the praise or honor received from some, or the dishonor and disrepute caused by the others. We should not undergo either an elation or a depression. Why? Yata atma agunashrayaha. I want you to focus on this last statement. Yata atma agunashrayaha. Because the self, the soul, is not at all within the ken of the gunas. It is transcendental. So any insult, somebody spoke to me in insulting terms. What exactly has taken place? Some words were spoken by somebody's mouth and they touched my eardrum, and the eardrum feels it is an insult. So it's an interaction between his mouth and my ear. And what am I? I am the inmost soul where no sound will reach and touch and no insult will ever affect. Agunashrayaha Atma. The Atma is Agunashrayaha. So the message of Sreemad Bhagavatam is very clear. Even in this little initial conversation between a hermit and his son in his hermitage, the message driven home is the mind should be equal. We should not have unnecessary depression or elation. We should not react to any event or episode in life in a disproportionate manner. Our mind should be flexible, elastic, assimilative. It must be able to harmonize and integrate all kinds of inputs. And there must be enough depth, enough loftiness, enough insight, always to guide us, strengthen us, reinforce us. We should take delight in this self-control and self-moderation. That is what we should aim at. And he is passing the message. Ultimately you understand, my dear son, Atma is Agunashrayaha. It is the message of the unaffected soul, the unaffected soul, the uncontaminable soul. That is the message. Teaching and learning both should start at home, between parents and the children. We are speaking about value degeneration everywhere. Value degenerates where? In the human mind, in the human behavior. And where are these human beings born? In the secretariat, in the ministries, or in our homes. Everyone who sits in a powerful position is born in his house as a child to his or her parents. So the contamination, if at all, starts from you, from the household. From the household. I want to say this with 1,000,000 mouths. We are blaming corruption done by whom? Our citizens. Citizens born where? Not in the secretariat, north or south block. They are all born in our blocks, household blocks. Why did we not bring up the children properly? This is what Sreemad Bhagavatam asks you. Childhood, the best time that you can teach, inspire, imbue, instill. And whatever the child learns and practices, he will not lose it till he reaches the cremation ground. Childhood, that is the time. So let us not blame others. Let us blame ourselves. We are not able to give birth to better children, more value-oriented children, more principled children, more introspecting children, children who will understand the worth, beauty and might of the mind. So let us focus on one's own inner purity, inner enrichment, inner elevation, inner ornamentation. So far, we were with the hermitage of Shamika Maharshi, where you understood what was the scene that was enacted. Now we shall go to Pariksit and his palace. But before that, remember, what is the message that you have from the Shamika Maharshi and the dialogue he had with his son? Parents and elders will have to take the responsibility right from very young age of the children to instill in them the right lessons, values, ideas and perceptions. I think the process can start any time. As I always say, the manner in which you look at your children, little babies, talk to them. When they are lisping, tell them more and more. And very good stories, very good episodes from our epics and other narrations you can always present before them. But involve them at every time by asking them, if you were in that position, what would you do? This is a question that you should always ask the children. That is the only way you can connect the child's mind or the listener's mind to whatever you are narrating. Don't leave the entire value education to be had in schools in the hands of teachers. The children are born to you in your homes. They are imbibing whatever you have, primarily in the form of heredity, which we understand extend to something like 7 generations in the past. So you can imagine the power of heredity, the influence of heredity. Now, subsequent to the birth of the child, you are providing the environments, and the environmental influence will continue until the child grows to be an adult, thinking and making his choices all by himself. So hereditary influence or inheritance factors are resting with you, the family and the lineage. Then the initial acquisitions which are on the basis of the influences that you will provide, they are also resting upon you. Thereafter alone the adult begins to think. So the right value instilling process should start in the hands of the parents and the other elders of the family. When children are taught values in this manner, you will find they cannot get out of them. They may have a little deflection now and then when they grow up, but you will find they cling on to whatever you have taught. We generally speak of value decline everywhere, and we are pointing out the administrators, the bureaucrats, the elected representatives, and so many others are faulty, and there is widespread corruption. I would like to ask every one of you, particularly the audience will be 99.999 recurring person householders. Don't you think that all the children who occupy all the powerful positions, who are the leaders of the country, leaders of the society, they were all born in your own houses. If the children born from the households are not good, where is the fault lying with? I think we cannot escape it. It is not right to point our fingers to anybody else, saying that you are corrupt, he is corrupt, widespread corruption is there. Corruption is there in our own households. This is a point that you should understand. Here is what Shamika Maharshi gives us a beautiful example. When his little ascetic son got into a temper, just like Pariksit, the elderly man, or the elderly king, also got into a temper, and he lost everything. If Pariksit did a small crime, the father says here to the son that you have done a very great crime. It should not be. So the correction, especially in the young mind, is very important. This is what Sreemad Bhagavata does. So the Sreemad Bhagavata narration starts with the episode of Pariksit who went for hunting. It is not actually a hunting expedition. What we want to learn is how the mind of an elderly man sometimes reacts very violently to a situation. Equally so, in response to that, how can a young and an innocent mind also get into a sense of revolt and resistance? Both are equally wrong. Now, so far as Pariksit is concerned, you can say he himself was responsible for his pitfall. In the case of the child, you cannot completely give it to the child. It is the responsibility of the parents who have given birth to the child to see that the mind of the child is molded, shaped, and also ornamented in the manner in which parents want. Now, let us go to the palace of Pariksit and find out what transpires or transpired there. Pariksit went back and he was in his palace. Obviously, he must have been sitting on the throne, but he became very restless. He was scorched by the guilt that befell him on the one hand, and also the curse, the news of the curse which the ascetic son had pronounced on him. Now, what is Pariksit facing now? He has only 6.5 days of life before him. On the 7th day, he would meet his death. In which manner? Not in a natural manner. By virtue of the curse the son administered, Takshaka, the fated or fateful cobra, would come, administer its bite, and from the poison it injects into the blood. A fire will rise, and in that blazing fire, Parikshit's body would be scorched, will be burnt. Can you imagine this kind of a plight? Any human will not be able to accept it. It is very terrorizing, agonizing. It is a great consternation which we are unable to meet at all. But this is what Srimad Bhagavata presents, and then tells you even how such an acute distress you can find a redress for it. It is quite possible that anybody commits a sin, there is a slip or an error. So to sin is not uncommon. But after the sin is committed, the sinner must come to know that he has done a crime. He has done a moral or an ethical crime which is called a sin. It's okay, agreed, but there is an atonement for everything. Whatever sin you have committed once, don't repeat it. That is the first point. Thereafter, you can do a kind of an introspection, a kind of an austerity as we call it, by virtue of which whatever be the effects of the sin which you have committed can be completely wiped off. In the case of Pariksit, when he was scorched by the guilt on the one hand, as I said, and the curse on the other, his great heredity came to his rescue. And as a result of that, he resolved that for the rest of the 6.5 days or 7 days left in my life, I am not going to eat nor drink. This is called the Prayopavesha vow. Now he took the Prayopavesha vow because of the impending death. So far as all of you are concerned, commoners, you need not take up the Prayopavesha vow, nor are you supposed to or fated to die on the 7th day. But nevertheless, fissiparous tendencies, wicked tendencies, sinful habits, many other such unwelcome and undesirable traits we have. Many minds, or almost all minds, are suffering from all these things. What shall we do with them is an important question. There is a redress for any kind of an unwelcome trait. Be sure of it. Life is not all bad. There is also something good. Even in the worst of sin and the impending death, if King Pariksit could save himself, I think every one of us will be able to save ourselves from the clutches of anything wrong or sinful we have committed or we are likely to commit. The world is not all bad. There are streaks of good everywhere you will find. When Pariksit undertook that Prayopavesha, fasting unto death, that kind of a resolution, it became far greater a news. That he committed a mistake and did a crime of putting a dead cobra on a sage's neck when he was steeped in meditation, certainly it was a bad news. It also spread like wildfire everywhere. But now that he has undertaken Prayopavesha vow, very, very rare. People would have heard of it, but they would never have seen anybody doing it. Now when Pariksit did it, automatically that news also spread much faster and much broader. What is this? The great King Pariksit is going to die on the 7th day. And for the 7 days he says, I will not eat, I will not drink, I will only breathe the air, doing nothing. I will remain seated in the same position. When this news spread, how many people were there, immensely touched by it. Our Ramayana, Valmiki's Ramayana says, when Sri Rama decided to go to the forest, on the basis of what Kaikeyi demanded, without a word of resistance or word of thought, before sun sets today, Rama will have gone from Ayodhya, he said. That news also spread. And when Rama, Lakshmana and Sita were going away in the chariot, you know, the entire Ayodhya followed him. This is what Valmiki Ramayana says. I think we have something to think seriously about it. The touch of goodness, the touch of propriety, the touch of very rare traits, benign traits, like what Sri Rama had done. What did he do? I shall fulfill the word of my father. No matter whether it is involving my abandoning the throne, keeping away from the throne, and living in forest exile for 14 long years, it does not matter. The 14 long years, it became nothing before him. He decided to leave. All people were immensely moved, touched and engulfed by the rare goodness, fondness and resolve of the young prince. They all followed him. And Sri Rama had to play a game of stealth there. All of them rested that night. When all people were sleeping, he told Sumantra, Sumantra, we are getting into the chariot and you drive the chariot towards Ayodhya, he said. So when the people would wake up, they will know that Rama has gone back. So he went about 3 or 4 kilometers and then turned off to Chitrakuta. Why I am telling you, when something good, noble, great and rare is done, I think the whole human mind, the societal mind will respond to it. So all of them arrived on the scene. So many people flocked there, as I perhaps told earlier. They all complimented him, and after complimenting, they were wondering what Pariksit would say. Now Pariksit illustrates that any kind of a sin, it is possible that the mind commits, but there is always a salvation for it. So don't stop committing a sin. Always think about it. The better course will be to think seriously, understand the good and bad of human life, avoid bad, and follow and persist in being good. This is the right course. But sometimes it is not possible. Everyone is under many provocations. The world is alluring, it is tempting, it is compelling. So many instances may happen. That is how we have corruptions in the highest seats of authority. Are they not educated? Are they not administrative officers? Different from the elected people, they are all selected people, the entire bureaucrats. In spite of it, why this unnational feeling, the lack of national fondness, fidelity, adherence, etc.? They are selected under an elaborate procedure. After a beautiful selection is made, training is given, all of them are appointed by the president. Even then we find trustworthiness and integrity are lacking. So the human mind is subject to such fissiparous tendencies, let us accept it. So pitfalls are possible, slips and errors are possible. While these are possible, you should always look to eliminate them. Before committing, the best. After committing also, we should look for a right redress. So Pariksit is holding an eternal message before us. Life, in spite of all the pitfalls that it is forcing you to incur, there is always a streak of goodness, a streak of promise and a streak of felicity. Now, impart this message to your younger ones. First of all, absorb them to yourselves. Absorb them in yourselves. Try to actualize them, contain them, embody them, and then manifest them and display them. Share your virtues with the younger ones. Discuss also with your friends. Let the culture be properly imbibed, strengthened, and finally disseminated also to become a permanent, unobliterable bequest in our society. Now Pariksit, after his decision, he straight away goes to the river Bhagirathi, Ganga, a very, very holy river. The entire India, you can say, is holified by the Gangetic plain and the Gangetic flow. It is such a great holy river. Now there is a lot of concern in the minds of the well-meaning citizens of India that this holy Ganga is being robbed of the holiness. The flow is intercepted. Many dams are being made, even in the highest spots, which are generally considered to be a love for the pilgrims. How many people are trekking every year to go to Badrinath, Kedarnath, Gangotri, Yamunotri, etc.? Now between Uttarakashi on the one hand and Gangotri from where, Gomukh from where Ganges is flowing, I think there are a number of engineering schemes being implemented. Now many people are anxious about it. Books have been written. Andolans are being organized. When we went to Haridwar last time, I have not seen the Kumbh Mela at all. I have heard about it. So last year when I was here, I wanted to visit Haridwar and see what was going on. Of course, the manner in which we were conducted, I was not able to see what all I wanted to see. In spite of it, I was happy to go there. I had been to Haridwar a few decades back. Now I find it's not the whole Haridwar at all. In the name of facilities, many facilities have come up. There is no doubt about it. But I believe the natural holiness and the pious vibrations, the pious pulsations, Ganges will always be pulsating or was pulsating. To some extent you can say I am missing them. But one sight I would like every one of you to know. If you have not seen, you should go and see. The manner in which people are devoted to Ganga, its majesty, its celestial origin, its magnificence, the type of auspiciousness and holiness they associate with Ganga, it is something to be seen. There is an aradhana, a camphor flame shown every day. Before that, a hymn to Ganga is also sung. So many people assemble there. People can assemble for different purposes. There are different agitations and demonstrations. But here is an assembly where nobody is invited. No propaganda is made. People simply come there to see what? To see their beloved Ganga. Particularly, Ganga is flowing torrentially, you can say, and it is reaching the plains. So Haridwar is a wonderful point. Hariki Paudi is an important place there. So the manner in which people have adoration in their mind, nobody is instilling it, and so many people are there. Now I also went there along with my own disciples and the others. And at one point I found many people came up and they were speaking to the audience, and ultimately collections were being made. I found that it was a collection campaign with a view to pursue various methods, administrative on the one hand, societal on the other, maybe a little political also. After all, everything has to be done by the political power, the political seats of power, to make sure that Ganges is allowed to flow in its own natural, pristine glory, right and might. The matter has become very serious. Let us harness the rivers. But which rivers shall we harness? After all, India is very cultural. It is very pious. It is very spiritual. In spite of all the upheavals that the country is going through, what is it that makes our people sustain all impacts? It is only their spiritual and cultural heritage that we have, nothing else. The Indian mind is always ready to accept whatever comes. In the name of providence, in the name of God, in the name of their own supreme self. They also understand the ephemerality of the world and worldly possessions. It is the dispassion that they have, and also the great devotional steeping that they have that make them sustain everything that happens. So I think the whole subject has to be reconsidered. Why I am mentioning it? Pariksit straight away went to the Bhagirathi shore, spreading kusha grass with the tips of the grass facing eastward. He sat on it, facing the east. Now that was the manner in which he began his austere Prayopavesha vow, that vow, and whatever was going to follow, it was from that pose, that resolute pose he undertook. So he went there, sat. The holy river, the holy flow of Ganga, where from does it come? It comes from the Himalayan peaks. The Himalaya is the northern boundary for us. Beyond Himalaya southward is our wonderful subcontinent called Bharatavarsha. This Bharatavarsha also is a name which is derived from Bharata Muni. Bharata, the eldest son of Rishabhadeva. He was such a holy man, such a great man, that the entire land was named after him, Bharata. That is, the name was derived like that. So you will find a lot of legends and facts also are related to our holy Ganga. So the holy flow of Ganga on the one hand, and the beautiful, salubrious, sublime and all purifying air, water and air and sunshine, all these things put together, it was a beautiful, very rare atmosphere there. And Pariksit is seated there on the Kusha Asana. And the Prayopavesha is already announced and it has begun. You know what happened? The holy flow of Ganga, many great events have taken place in and around Ganga. I don't know whether I told you in the earlier episodes, our great dharma, our culture, what we call the dharma of Bharat, Bharata Dharma. It is not a religion at all, as I had mentioned earlier. The dharmic thoughts, the dharmic principles, the dharmic discoveries and the dharmic ideals and principles, all of them were evolved in the Gangetic plane.